Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at Ravenloft, the boxed set. This is an older set that I bought when it was brand new. It's from 1990. And I'm going to take a look at the goodies inside. I looked at this a couple of years ago on the channel, but I thought it was worth another look. It was $18 US, look at that. And what lurks within: 144-page book, 4 big full-color maps, 24 full-color cardstock sheets featuring haunted castles, horde houses, and fiendish folk, 1 transparent map overlay for measuring distance in the realm of doom. I like this set. I was really excited. The original Castle Ravenloft came out in about 83, I want to say. Module I6, the Module I10 followed a year or two later. I'm going to make a deep, dark confession now. I wasn't a fan of either module. They were okay, but they weren't exactly to my taste. However, when this came out in 1990, I got very excited. Strad von Zarovich on the cover with some village person. I don't know, I like it. It spoke the old Universal Monsters to me. The old Bram Stoker's Dracula novel. And there we have the book. This is the book that came in the boxed set. This thing was pretty big. We got all kinds of goodness in here. So there we go. We have the table of contents telling us all about Ravenloft, what exactly Ravenloft is. Per the box set, the Ravenloft setting came first from Barovia and Ravenloft. That's the castle of Count Strad von Zarovich. And the players would, in the original modules, interacted with him and had to deal with some of the stuff out of it. But this goes further into the actual lands of Ravenloft. They developed a whole set of different worlds from other planes that have been linked together to this demi-plane of dread, and how you could play different adventures in different demi-planes. I liked it. From Gothic roots. And as I've said before, this discussed the nature of Gothic horror. I find it hard to introduce true horror into D&D. I've made my players nervous and scared and stuff like that, but the actual horror I've found to be very hard. But the whole idea is that you are surrounded by evil and you are trying to escape the evil and survive. We've got some nice suggested reading here. And then the demi-plate of dread itself. Once you're in Ravenloft, you are trapped. You can't go anywhere. Each master of their individual place, in this case Strad von Zarovich for Barovia, has complete control over the borders and who can get out. Anybody can come in. Getting out is a little more difficult. Now, I went all in on Ravenloft when it came out and through the 90s. I really enjoyed Ravenloft. And I tried to introduce it to my players at least 5 or 6 times, and every single time my players hated it. I have never had good luck running a Ravenloft campaign. I've had to abandon them each time. I tried as recently as a few months ago, and my players were having none of it. So it's nothing that's popular at my table, unfortunately. And that's a shame, because I really do like it. One thing I want to stop at here, though, and talk about is how you turn undead. There's a new undead turning chart for Ravenloft, which I really liked, and I use this sometimes in place of the original one, because frankly, when the original turning chart was written, 1979, for clerics, D&D was envisioned as going somewhere between 8th and 12th level as the max out, and that chart is a little too easy for undead to be turned. This one makes it a little bit better. So I may do a comparison chart. I'm thinking of doing a video on turning undead and then a comparison between this chart and the regular chart. So that may still happen this week. But you reshape the characters. Sometimes the characters, when they go into different realms, have their memories altered. It's interesting. You wander into the mists in your own realm and you come out and you're in one of the Ravenloft realms, and then you deal with what's going on. In that realm, you have fear and horror checks. Just a lot of stuff. Werebeasts and vampires. These are a lot of fun in Ravenloft. And A little inspiration from Bram Stoker's novel, I'm thinking. Where these curses are a big part of Ravenloft. Most of the Dark Lords in some way or another are cursed to continue to live ruling their lands, but they have something, their heart's desire can never be fulfilled. In Strahd's case, it's Tatiana, his brother's fiancée, who Strahd coveted, and that led to the entire creation of the first Domain of Dread, Barovia becoming Ravenloft, and then the rest linking on years and years later. If you've never read the novel I, Strahd and the follow-up I, Strahd, The War Against Aslan, I recommend both highly. They're very well written, and they do a lot with the lore of Ravenloft. We get the full origin of Ravenloft through Strahd, and then we get the origin of the attached lands and such. So they're both good reading. P.N. Elrod is the author. I recommend them highly. So then we get Gypsies, the Vistani. Spells in Ravenloft can be altered depending on the spell. And I want to point out that my Walpurgis game, my annual Halloween game, well predates Ravenloft by 8 years. So it's just something I've actually had people mention before. Oh, your game is just a Ravenloft. No, it actually predates the very first Ravenloft module by a year. So my first Walpurgis was 82, and the first module was 83. So we have a couple of new spells that are thrown in here. And then some magical items in Ravenloft. Be very careful picking up magic items in Ravenloft. There's usually some kind of nasty string attached. We got to look at some new magic items. Some of these are pretty good. And then Lands of the Core. The Core are the main worlds that first joined up and formed Ravenloft. And here we have a nice overall map of it. And then a listing of each and every one of them. They went on TSR / well, I guess not WotC, but TSR went on to do a ton of supplements for Ravenloft. Some of which are really, really good and a lot of fun. And again, I am the only one at my table that thinks Ravenloft is good. It's a shame. I would love to run some Ravenloft. But my players have made it clear, nope, they're not going to. So we're finishing out the Lands of the Core. And then we have Islands of Terror, which are other lands, but they're islands. And this was all new to us in this boxed set, which was pretty cool. I bought it because I liked the artwork and I liked the theme. And even though I wasn't a fan of the original 2 Ravenloft modules, and again, nothing against those modules, they just weren't for me. It's strictly a personal preference for me. I understand that people do really like those, but they just didn't resonate with me. So we have the various Dark Lords. Aslan is of particular interest. He's the Lord of Darkon because he's from the land of Greyhawk, which is why it was interesting to have him featured in the second I, Strahd book. And all kinds of different Dark Lords. Here we have, I passed one that is an obvious nod to Gothic horror. Vlad Drakov, Lord of Felkovnia, 14th level warrior, neutral evil. So that's obviously Dracula. So just some neat stuff throughout the book. Really powerful lords. You really can't defeat the lords. You can stymie them, thwart their plans, but you can't defeat them. And that's some of the cool stuff of Ravenloft, is just basically surviving. And I think my players just didn't care for being trapped there. And I even did one where they could leave anytime they wanted to. And they stayed for a little bit and then promptly left. So that didn't work either. So I've tried every version I can. I have no immediate plans to go back to Ravenloft with my players. Comments, let me know how you've done with it. If you've had good luck with Ravenloft or if it's just been something that didn't catch at your table. But anyway, we got to look at bloodlines of the various rulers, if they're related, how they're related. And a lot of times it has to do with a cursed bloodline, and that's how they ended up in Ravenloft. You have to be pretty darned evil to end up there. And very often the lands are created. Sometimes they're taken wholly from the plane that they were on. But sometimes they're just created for the new Dark Lord that the Dark Powers have trapped. We never find out who or what is behind Ravenloft. I always thought of it as kind of a prison for particularly evil people, and sometimes the good people, air quotes, I always thought were just people that were trapped there because of past things that they had done. And it's just kind of a magical nexus, kind of a Gilligan's Island of terror, if you will. I've always thought Gilligan's Island was just this magical nexus that drew all these people there, but kept them from leaving. Lots of ideas about what Gilligan's Island really was. It's fun. Just Google it and you'll find it. Is Gilligan the devil? That kind of stuff. Then we got some new monsters in here. The Geist, basically a ghost, German for ghost. Grim Shishka, Lugaru, Lycanthrope. I've used Lugaru. They're pretty powerful. I just thought the actual werewolf from AD&D was underpowered. A Strahd skeleton and a Strahd zombie. I've used both of these as well. Created by Strahd, and then a Nosferatu, a vampire Nosferatu. And then the back of the book. Now we're going to take a look at the rest of the box contents. This is one of the maps. I'm not going to be able to show the whole map because they're too big. And there we have it. That's the lands of the core, and here we are. So, where is Barovia? Right here, Barovia, right there. That's Strahd von Zariewicz's area right there. So this would be very much like the old Transylvania depicted in the Universal films. That kind of thing would be Barovia, which I thought was cool. And we have another big old map of the islands. I don't know why they made some of the core and some islands. I don't know what the idea was there. But still, pretty cool. You do the island of Dr. Moreau kind of thing. We do all kinds of scary stuff on islands. Again, isolation and trapped. And then we have some more dialed in maps. This is the village of Barovia, which is right by Castle Ravenloft, which is where Strahd von Zarovich hangs his cloak. And there we go. So Barovia was a particular interest to me. These are blank on the other side. And then we have different other cities that are part of the core lands or the Isles of Terror. One more map. For $18, even in 1990, this was a pretty good deal. You got a lot of information, a lot of maps. I liked it. I still love this set. This comes out almost every Halloween. I pull the thing out and take a look at it. These are the Islands of Dread, I believe. Okay. And then, oh no, these are some of the core lands still too. And then you got a transparent measuring device. The idea was you would overlay this, count the hexes, and you could know how far things were from each other. They did this a little bit in the mid to late 80s, early 90s in the various TSR boxed sets. And then we got the cards. These cards are pretty neat because we got, I think it's 18. We got the front, nice picture to set the mood, and then the back, here we have a look at Aslan's Castle. And then we got the front here, and that's Cartaken Inn. I have used these in other games than Ravenloft because they are good for that. And then here's the map of the chart of turning undead in Ravenloft again. I like that chart a lot. One of my favorite pictures of my buddy Strahd and how magic is altered. Mordenheim's estate. Castle of Forlorn. Strahd's castle. I use this a lot for various evil castles. I've used it many times. There's Strahd himself posing for his Spellfire card. And Monsters and Militia. And then Monsters Lurking in Ravenloft. And then we have the Markov estate. And Mercia's castle. Hireguard's castle. Lots of castles in here, which is kind of neat. Hazlick's estate. It's just a manor house, it looks like. Rainier estate. Some kind of fortress. Delisnia estate. This one's outside. Arajani's temple. Yagno Petrova's temple. A monastery. I've used that one in a couple of games. And then Rainier. Timothy. These are all various inhabitants of Ravenloft. And then Delisnia, Baritzi. There you go. Big old manor house. And this is the Baritzi estate. Another castle. Vlad Drakov's castle. Weathermay family. Weathermay. Think the old Night Gallery series. That's a lot of what the flavor is of this book, or this box set. And Dionair. Another family of Ravenloft. So there you go. That's the cards. And then, of course, we get the opportunity to join the crusade. Yeah, you can buy Dragon Magazine, Dungeon Magazine. This is a subscription form for it. And that's what's in the box set. So there you have a good look at Castle Ravenloft, or at Ravenloft itself, the Realm of Terror. I really like this box set. I like so much, like I said, around Halloween, almost every year this thing comes out and I read over a little bit of it. And I do recommend it. It's available in aftermarkets. I really don't know the price on that. I know you can get it through Drive-Thru-RPG as a PDF. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Tell your friends. Let's keep the channel growing. Also take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. But that's it for right now. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.